Good morning, everybody. I'm going to give you a little briefing on Roundup season. Most of you are using weed killers right now to get ahead of the game before the rains start and the weeds start growing. So most of you turn to chemical killers called Roundup. The fancy term for that is glyphosate. And now we can test for that and see how much is in your system. On top of what you actually use on your weeds, or what's being used in commercial farming as a weed killer externally, it's also internally implanted into our seed pods of most of the food that we eat. So glyphosate is what is considered the GMO in foods, the genetically modified organism, is actually glyphosate in the hull of the germ of the seed. So most of us have a varying level of glyphosate. The more processed foods that you eat, and the more genetically modified organism diet that you consume, then the more glyphosate that you probably have embedded deep into your cellular matrices. So now there is a test. We send it out to Great Plains Laboratory. It comes back to me. It's a urine test. You collect your urine. You do a couple other fancy things. You put it on this box and we ship it off, or you ship it off to Great Plains Laboratory. I receive the results and we see where you are in comparison to the rest of the population with glyphosate. We call it glyphosate poisoning. It's just a slow death. We all have a slow burn in our cells from all the glyphosate we consume, breathe in, or absorb. So what do I mean by that? If you're using glyphosate on a regular basis, and some people like to spray it before they plant, you're going to be absorbing it through the skin. You also absorb the aerosols deep into your cells, where glyphosate really likes to live, other than deep into the cell's powerhouses and inter-factory machinery that makes the cells work, is that it lives deep in the bone marrow as well. Some of the most common cancers of glyphosate accumulation in the body are leukemias, lymphomas, non-Hodgkin's and Hodgkin's, prostate cancer, thyroid, and multiple myeloma. So we now finally are able to get a great reference range, see how much glyphosate you actually have in the system, and then work with the CellCore detoxification carbon binding. And how I do that predominantly, the protocol is a little more in depth, but two of the main powerhouses are advanced TUDCA and HMET binder. So TUDCA is a fancy bile thinning agent. Bile neutralizes toxins, so we get the bile flowing out of the body. Most of us have had, or most of you all, a lot of people get their gallbladders taken out. And once you do, you don't accumulate bile anymore, and you actually back up thick, sticky bile into the liver. Gets gummed up. We call those gallstones, but it also forms fatty liver. So when we take TUDCA, it starts to thin the bile and allow it to drain out, whether you still have your gallbladder or not. That allows toxins to be neutralized a little better. Once the toxins are drained into the gut, they are bound up by HMET binder. HM is heavy metal, ET is environmental toxin. Environmental toxin, one of those is the substance glyphosate. It's considered an environmental toxin. How the carbon works is it goes deep into every cell. That's all 50 plus trillion cells into the body. It binds with a strong covalent bond to the glyphosate. It can go deep into the bone. It can go deep into every cell. And once it binds it, it carries it through the lymphatic system, through the liver, kidney to be filtered, and out the bowel or the urine. And then we reduce the mark of glyphosate accumulated in the system. Once we remove that glyphosate or Roundup out of the system, we reverse the cause of the disease. So we bind it up, you get rid of it, you don't form the cancer, and you don't feel awful. Before cancer is really just disease. It could be autoimmune dysfunction. It could be like Hashimoto's. It could be the trigger to the RA, to any of the autoimmune expressions that you have. It could be the trigger to some of the gut problems that you have. It could also be the trigger to your brain fog and just to feeling like crud. So for those of you that are interested, I'd come in, pick up your test kit today. We'll give you an explanation on how to send it off. Then you schedule to see me and we get started based upon what the reading shows us. We go a lot more in depth, obviously, in your nutritional profile or protocol or exam. And I'd be really excited to see where you stand. And if you are a glyphosate junkie, then you definitely need to come and see me. Talk to you soon. Have a great day.